Okay, time to review some good movies. Um, American Sniper was a good movie, even though some of the stuff that happened in real life wasn't true, so it mined some points and stuff. American Heights was a very good movie. I like that they didn't succeed at the heights at the end because of character conflict and stuff. So that was a very good movie. And then The Drop was a very good movie too. Um, it gave me. I like Tom Hardy in that movie, and I had felt some pounding in my chest, because of the tension and stuff. 1917 was a very good movie as well. I like the long takes that they did in this movie, and I did like the character and all the stuff he had to go through. It was a very good movie. Then you got Drive. That was a good movie. I enjoyed the ending and some of the action stuff, car action, driving. And at the end, he didn't even get with the girl because he's like, I better just keep her out of my life so she could be safe. Source Code was a time loop movie and it was very good. Um, Into the Wild was about a guy and he gave up his identity and stuff so he could be free and stuff. And I did enjoy the movie. It was a little bit long, but I enjoyed the naked couple when he was riding down the river with them. That was funny. It was sad how he died at the end by eating the wrong berries and slowly dying in the cold. The Prestige was a good Christopher Nolan movie. I do like the twist that Hugh Jackman was making clones and stuff. Like he was actually doing crazy science. What the other guy, Christian Bale, was playing was just doing trick stuff with his twin brother. But I like their rivalry and stuff. It was pretty good. Nanny McPhee was a good movie, but the kids could be a little bit too mean and too annoying. Like regular kids, so it could. Yeah, Gangs of New York was a good gang movie. It had to deal with immigration and stuff from Irish racism. Good movie. And then Remember the Giants was a good sports drama. I like the characters and stuff and like race conflict and stuff. And then Rudy was deal with Rudy and now he was a college kid and then he turns out he's really good at football. Hudsucker Proxy was just like an invention movie. A guy created the hula hoop and then made millions and stuff. It had a little bit of dark jokes in it, but I like the rise and the fall of hula hoops. And then literally at the end, he makes a frisbee, and then they're like, "Oh, here we go again." Ed Wood was Tim Burton did a really good job directing this movie and stuff, even if it's not 100% accurate. But I did enjoy the performance by Johnny Depp. I Am Legend. It's a good take on a zombie movie. You feel for the character and stuff. I wish they went with the original ending for the theatrical where, he realized that the zombies are not actually zombies, that they're an evolution of people. So he decided to kill himself and not help the previous race. So I thought that was an interesting way to go. Natural Born Killers was a good crime thriller. It was basically like, yeah, it was pretty weird. Pretty good. I mean, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids was a good movie. I like the practical effects and stuff. Dances with Wolves was a little too long and maybe a little bit racist here and there. But I did like the main character, and I did like the conflict he do. And it's a good movie because like literally a bunch of movies ripped this off, like Avatar and others that I can't name right now. Goodfellas was a good mafia movie. So was The Godfather, and I did like Taxi Driver. I didn't like how the main character was antisocial and like watched porn and stuff, and thought, oh, I should take my date to watch some porn. I'm like, no, dude. But he was messed up in the head, and you got like 2 or 3 iconic stuff that came from that movie. Running Away was a 1980s sci-fi movie, and even though it could have been a little bit better on the sci-fi part, I thought it was a good Tom Selleck movie. Star Troopers was a good parody movie of like, the military and stuff. They're like, we killed this thing with feelings. I thought that was pretty funny, even though it was, sad. Like literally all the worst people stay alive. I found that interesting. Clouds is a biopic about this guy with cancer and stuff. You know, it has some cliches like him breaking up with his girlfriend and stuff. But, you know, I did enjoy the movie. I thought it was pretty good. And The Founder was a very good movie about this guy scamming the McDonald's brothers and basically making millions off them. But it wasn't some inventive stuff. No, he was pretty smart. Man That Stares at Goats was a good movie. It was a little surreal at times, but it was like the hippie experience and stuff. And I do like that he ran through the wall, even though I don't know if that's accurate or not. I'll definitely rewatch and make a video on Black Dynamite, but that was a pretty good period piece movie, 1960s movie, even though it didn't take place in 1960, but it was pretty funny with the stuff. 21 Jump Street was a good movie, but I like the second movie ending a little bit better, even though the second movie wasn't as good as the first movie, but I love the ending with all the sequels and stuff. I thought that was pretty funny. Hot Tub Time Machine was almost a good movie, but then the sequel was, kind of bad and didn't make that much sense with the time travel stuff. World War Z was a good movie. Elysium was okay, but has some narrative problems. Dolphin Tale was a good movie, I believe. Galaxy Quest was a pretty good Star Trek parody. I enjoyed that, even though I didn't watch Star Trek or know when I watched it as a kid. Fight Club was a pretty good movie. And I like the twists and stuff with the Tyler Durden character. It could get a little bit sad at times, somber, and like what's happening, but you feel for the character, of Edward Norton. Kill Bill, the first one was really good. I really enjoyed that movie. I think it's a masterpiece. But then the second one was, just very okay. I don't know how it lost steam. And then he made another movie called The Hateful Eight, and that was a very good movie too. I did like the twist with the people underneath the cabin. I thought that was pretty interesting. Probably already said, but the Prestige movie's good. A Scanner Darkly was a weird movie, but I thought it was good. But I felt bad for Keanu Reeves' character at the end. And then Kung Pao was a very good parody movie of kung fu things and stuff. And like the CGI wasn't the best, but I thought it was a pretty funny movie. Carpool was a good enough movie. I did like the insanity of all the carpool stuff, like literally crimes and stuff happen in the carpool, and I thought that was pretty interesting. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids was a good movie. It had good effects and stuff. Matsu-san, the movie, that was a good movie. And I also like the TV show. So I'm here and giving the TV show a recommendation. Even though it would have been a little bit better if I could hear them in English. But I don't know. Because there's no English dub. But it's a very good movie. And so was Parasite. I don't know if they're going to rewatch that movie. But I did watch it before and it was pretty good. I find the funniest scene that happened was when they were hiding underneath the table and the bed and stuff. And literally hear the two couple boning. I thought that was pretty funny. That's all the good movies. And Song of the Sea. I don't know if I talked about this, but the Song of the Sea had really good animation. I thought the brother was a little bit too mean to the younger sister, but in the movie he blames her for their mom dying and stuff, so it made a little bit of sense. But I liked it. Then Hidden Figures was a very okay movie. Because some of it wasn't even real. But I did like the main three girl characters. Kill Me Three Times was an okay movie, but I found it pretty funny. But only because it had I only found the moments with Simon Pegg really funny. And Disaster Artist was a very okay movie. Deathstroke was a good movie. I didn't really like the twist. The Other Guys was an okay movie. So was Green Lantern. But I found Green Lantern, Seth Rogen's character was a little bit annoying and stuff. Limited List was a good movie. I liked the premise of taking pills and making you super smart and alert, and how Bradley Cooper takes down some people, and I thought it was very satisfying. Super is it's a little bit too depressing, and like I wish the character was a little bit better, and I wish the girl character, I wish we understand why she took drugs and stuff. So that's a C plus. Bullet to the Head is a C. Just a standard Sylvester Stallone action movie. But he fought Jason Momoa before he became popular. And then there's the Jason Momoa's Conan the Barbarian movie. And I thought that was okay too. But I do like the grittiness of that movie. It reminded me of God of War and stuff. And Jason Momoa did good in that movie. Total Recall was kind of bad. It was like a C or C minus. The 2013 movie, it could have been better. But it was like so different from the original movie, and I believe the original movie is really good. The Bean movie was okay. I don't really feel for Mr. Bean's shtick, how all the coincidence and stuff. But I did watch the Mr. Bean, his first movie. Mimic is a horror movie, and that was okay. But I did like the creature design. Watched The Time Machine. I don't really remember that movie. I, Robot was an okay movie, but the premise should have been a lot better. Yeah, that's about it. Oh yeah, no, Flight 93 from 2006. It could have been better budget-wise, but it was a TV movie. But, it was very okay. And then you got Saving Private Ryan. That was a very good movie. I think I mentioned American Sniper. That was also a good movie, even though some of the stuff, with real history should have been better. Superbad's a very good movie. So was Cabin Fever. Like, Cabin Fever was disturbing with all the body horror stuff. Without the Paddle was a kind of okay movie. But I did enjoy the character's dynamic. And then Cinderella Man was very okay. It was just a little bit slow, but I did feel for the character, and I did like the boxing scene at the end. So yeah, that's a lot of movies I just reviewed.